And so what I'd like to do is, Nick has given us such a poignant portrait of what happens inside Iran. I'd like to expand that a bit and take you to the rest of the Middle East and speak about Egypt and other countries in the Arab parts of the Middle East. And for a start, I'm going to show you a video I made for Time magazine, their website. It's called I Muslims, after a book that British academic Gary Buntos published that takes a look at how Muslims use the internet. Because many of you, I'm sure, when you follow the news, are very familiar with everyone from Jihad Jane to, I don't know, Jihadi, whatever they call these days, how they use the internet and how they go online and how they find each other and how they learn all the evil things that one can learn online. But I spent the past 4 or 5 years learning all the wonderful things that you can do online. So I'd like to give you, show you this brief video and then speak to you a bit about what I found in my own research and my own dealings with citizen journalists in Egypt over the past, the 2 weeks that I was there.
You've seen their mugshots. A Nigerian charged with trying to blow up a plane on Christmas Day. 5 young American Muslims detained in Pakistan, apparently desperately seeking jihad. You've heard they went online in search of radical imams ready to recruit every Muslim within a foot of an internet connection. But I bet you haven't heard of these mugshots. As part of the Men in Headscarf campaign, Iranian men have been posting pictures of themselves wearing the head and body coverings the Iranian regime imposes on women. Their pictures have spread on the social networking site Facebook and YouTube in support of Iranian student activist Majid Tavakkoli. Authorities arrested Tavakkoli in December after he called for more democracy and urged students to reject tyranny. The next day, government newspapers published pictures of Tavakkoli dressed in a chador and claimed he had tried to escape arrest disguised as a woman. Yes, violent radical groups such as Al-Qaeda and others have used the internet to their advantage. That's not new. But what is new is how young Muslims around the world have used the internet to challenge authority. Their exciting work is often overshadowed by news of angry young Muslims online. Do you know of the Egyptian blogger who helped convict police officers for the sodomy of a bus driver by posting footage of the crime on YouTube? How about the Saudi woman blogger who challenges her country's restrictions on women? Pick up Gary Bunt's I Muslims, Rewiring the House of Islam, and learn that for every online Al-Qaeda recruiter, there are thousands of Muslims reforming Islam online. Interpretations and commentaries on the Quran fill the internet and recreate the vibrant intellectual atmosphere that many Muslims lament we'd long ago lost. I see that every day on Facebook, where I have almost 5,000 friends. We argue about everything, from polygamy and burqas to being gay and Muslim. You rarely see such diverse opinions in news reports about Muslims. The microblogging site Twitter is just as vibrant. An American Muslim I follow summed up the sentiments of many towards those 5 young American Muslims. I say we welcome these kids home from Pakistan with a swift kick in the ass. Who's with me? The internet deals a blow to radical groups by giving anyone online the chance to answer back. For every Omar Farouk Abdul Muttalib, there are dozens of Iranian men taunting the regime that runs the Islamic Republic of Iran. Join us on Facebook. I promise we won't blow you up.
The spirit behind what those Iranian men did by wearing chadors and putting on headscarves is really the spirit that runs through citizen journalism. This was a great chance to meet just regular young Egyptian men and women. And they weren't all from Cairo and they weren't all from Alexandria, which are the kind of the cultural hubs of Egypt. Many of them would be bussed into Cairo from the provinces. And there was one professor who came from a university in the south, in a province of Menia. He would take the train for 5 hours and get to Cairo, and then take the bus from Cairo and then come to the 6th of October, a new city kind of in the suburbs of Cairo, to take this course. It wasn't just on citizen journalism, it was on all forms of journalism, and it's in the lead up to the parliamentary elections in November. So here I was, learning as much from these young men and women as I was teaching them. And I returned to New York last Sunday, and one of them wrote to me, I think it was on Wednesday, and he said, I want to share with you my first blog post about what it's like to be a citizen journalist. And the headline for the blog post was, my first attempt at citizen journalism, what happened to me last Saturday. He was very excited. And what happened to him was, he heard that there was going to be a demonstration that was organized by young men and women of the April 6th movement. And the April 6th movement was actually launched on Facebook in Egypt almost exactly 2 years ago. April 6, 2008 marked a national strike in Egypt. Textile workers were going on strike in many cities, but especially in one city called Mahal al-Kobra. And so these young men and women on Facebook decided that they would support this strike by forming a movement or group. It was a Facebook group that very quickly mushroomed into hundreds of thousands of supporters. So these young men and women now there's been a lot of kind of political infighting and what have you, but they're still around. And whenever they hold demonstrations, the security forces go and quite violently break them up. So one of my students, or one of the trainees, heard there was going to be a demonstration, went and filmed the security forces breaking up this demonstration. And accidentally, while he was filming, he filmed a security officer. And the security officer saw him filming. So he confiscated his camera and erased his footage. And this young man called Muhammad wrote on his blog, "But such experiences lifted my spirit. I definitely represent a threat to the regime. I firmly believe my work equals that of a whole opposition party in Egypt." The essence of citizen journalism is to take the internet and use it and speak in the I that as a journalist, I was trained never to speak in. Because as a journalist, you're supposed to be objective, and it's not about I, it's about the Israeli said, the Palestinian said, Ahmadinejad said, Mousavi said. But citizen journalism is about the I said, and I saw, and I went, and I reported. And now, you're seeing young Egyptian women who, being groped in the street, will actually demand to take the man who gropes them to a police station and demand that the police do something about it. I've been groped countless times in Egypt. I would say to police officers, "You just groped me," and they would say, "Malish," which in Arabic means never mind. But now people have made it matter and have made it count because the bloggers created such a huge fuss. One of the main women's centers in Egypt, the Egyptian Center for Women's Rights, conducted a nationwide survey about sexual harassment just to gauge how bad it was. And they found that more than 80% of Egyptian women are sexually harassed or assaulted every day. Every day. And this was because the bloggers said, we're not going to hide this and we're not going to accept the denial of the state-owned media. The next year in Egypt, when sexual assaults happened again during Eid, the police actually bothered to arrest people. So this is an example of how it can have an effect. So I'm a huge fan of the blogosphere. I love what these young men and women do. And Baradei himself, this man who returned to Egypt, who is, a kind of a political hope, one of the things that preceded his return was that young Egyptians launched a group on Facebook called the Mohammed Baradei Group, and they called on him to come back to Egypt. So just 2 days ago, when he left Cairo and staged a political rally in Mansoura, about 1,500 people came out, and this was in direct violation of the emergency law, which bans large gatherings. And Baradei himself, Mohammed Baradei, said, this is not just the writing on the wall in the Egyptian people saying, we want change. This is happening on the street and not just in the virtual world and not just on Facebook. That he said that and that he said that to the regime is another example of how people are paying attention to what citizen journalists are saying and doing. So, thank you.